episode of Juliet's Sewing Life. In today's episode, we will be looking at this wonderful embroidery machine. Oh my god, I waited so long to get this one. This is the Innovis 1250. It is actually a sewing machine combined with an embroidery machine, but I actually only use the embroidery machine section of it, and that's what we'll be talking about today. So I'll see you in a bit. So what comes in the box? Well, when you first get it, it will be set up as a sewing machine, and this is what you have. It's the sewing machine section. Hold on a minute if I can open it. Okay, so it opens from the wrong way, this way. So this is what you get. I've taken a lot of the feet out. You'll get all the feet, nice little sections for you. You've got the buttonhole foot, the monogram foot, all kinds of different feet there for you. And then you've got a nice storage pouch like that. It's really neat, really, really neat. If you hear any sounds, that would be my dog who is feeling really left out and wants to come in. This is where, Oscar, this is where you put your darning foot. So that's how it comes on. It will be on the machine and you just slide it out like you would normally if you was going to do an arm or something like that. So that's how the machine will come to you. So then you attach the embroidery arm and it will look like this. So you get in the box your bobbing thread, which is a loads on this. It's 1,100 meters on this. This is bobbin thread. It's a very different type of thread. It's very fine, so you don't, it says like you don't have to keep replacing the bobbing that often, but you really do. It does take a lot. So you'll get that in the box. You'll get these wonderful little embroidery snips to cut your jump threads with a nice little guard on. You will get some stabilizer. This is the one that comes in the box. I'll show you some other stabilizers. I believe this one is an iron-on, so you'll just iron it on the back of your fabric and then hoop. We'll be doing hooping later. So that's what comes in the box there. So those three. This is the hoop that I use a lot. Yes, this way. And there's your grid. You get your grid to center. And you get your frame. It's a spring-loaded one, so you just turn it and you undo it like that. So that's one frame. You also get this humongous one. I haven't used it yet. This is a humongous frame, still in the box. You get the grid to placement and you get the frame, so you can do a very long, like a border on a quilt or something like that. Humongous one, so that's really useful. I'm sure I have an opportunity to use that one day, but I haven't so far. Okay, so let's get started with some hooping. But before we actually do some hooping, let me talk about stabilizers. That's a whole video all on its own, but just let's keep it simple. This is an iron-on tearaway, which is the most common, and you can get them pre-cut. This was from Amazon. It's in a pre-cut. I think you get 50 of the 12-inch and 50 of the small ones if you've got a small frame, and that's really handy. I'll be using that. I bought this from Amazon. This is a tearaway. Yes, this is just a simple tearaway. This is not an iron-on. You just pop it at the back. This one I haven't used yet, but I have, my friends have had babies. This is a soft and tear. So this is like when you put on the baby's onesies, like their name, and then you put the stabilizer at the back. This is really soft, so it's really nice against the baby's skin. So that's all the different types. There's so many. There's wash away, so many different types of stabilizers that you can get. So I just thought I'd just give you a little briefing on that. So let's put those away. That dog is very spoilt. He's not used to hearing the word no, just like a child. So let's hoop up. Okay, so the first thing we do is we take the bottom hoop. I've actually put a little black mark here just to tell me that it's this side up, because it can be a little bit confusing. There's a nice little groove here that tells you that you keep this side up, but you know, I just put a little mark there. It makes it a lot easier. So put your your thing here, and I'm just going to get some calico, which should be ironed really, obviously, but this is just for testing. So just lay it out on your frame like so. Let's get it straight at least. Alright, take this off. Right, now this here has got that little groove. You see, that's the top. I had to mark it because I've been doing it this way. Huh, it worked, but it's wrong. So I've got these two that are matching up. So that this matches with that. Now, I tend to hang, let me move this off so you can see. I tend to hang this off the edge so I can adjust it. So let's do that again. Let's put that here, make sure that it's overlapping. It's going to be caught nicely. Okay. Add that. Just need to if any of you have got dogs, they're like children. This is my first dog. Never had a dog before. Honestly, I was quite used to cats and they're very independent. So what I'm doing now, I've got my frame that's sitting in. It's tight, but it's not tight enough. So you want to pull in towards the frame. So I want to make sure that the fabric, I don't know if you can see, these little ripples are disappearing as I pull, not the stabilizer, just the fabric. I'm pulling the fabric taut. And once I've got it in a nice tight, there's no wrinkles, but there wouldn't be any wrinkles had I actually ironed it. Don't do as I do, do as I say in this case. And if it's your work, it would be ironed, but this is just a little sample. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten that up. Now that it's all tight. Nice little sound here. Got a little, what I've done is I actually flipped it. When you saw that little black mark, that's the wrong way. What you must see is you must see these little raised grooves in this sort of like crosshairs. The reason is, so the other way was a mistake. This is the correct way. When you hoop, you'll have these crosshairs facing you. So this is nice and tight now. And the reason why you do that, I have the spring by me, is because you want your grid to sit in. That's the dog. I'm going to let him in because honestly, he's just like a child. Excuse me. Come on in and behave yourself. That's him. Come on. Come on, Oski. Yeah, there's a lot going on in here. Right. He came in and he saw that there's a lot going on and he wasn't sure where he fit in. So he's decided to exit. I've got grown children. I'm not used to this toddler behaviour. I'm just not used to the toddler behaviour. I'm also not used to dogs. But I love him. Oh my goodness, I do love that dog real bad. Okay, so the ABC, you want to be able to see the ABC. You fit it in your little grid just like that. And now, if you was, for example, I wanted my design. For example, I wanted my design to be here. And make sure that right here, that says that's the middle. So now let's take to the machine and let's start hooping. Okay, before we put the hoop on, let me just explain a few things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, okay, this is where you put your bobbin, just like normal. It goes exactly the same way. It threads exactly just like a normal bobbin does, and it goes in the top here. I'm going to turn the machine on. And the screen comes up, and then it's going to ask me for some commands. It says touch the display, and now it's going to tell me that the embroidery carriage is going to move, just to make sure that there's nothing, you know, get out of my way, embroidery carriage is moving. So press OK. And now it gives me the screen for the embroidery. Had I had the sewing connection on, this will be a completely different screen. So it knows the screen, the arm talks to the machine. So if this is on, it will give you this screen, which is the embroidery screen. If the other cases for the sewing is on, it will have a completely different screen. So just so you know. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do some hooping. I'm just going to move it slightly towards me so I can see. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to slide it under here, slide it under the foot. You could move your foot up more if you need to. I'm just going to fold that back. There's two little, take that out, there's two little catches here. They attach to these two little nodges. So let's do that. Actually just click together, and there we go. Now just to line up, I've got my needle and that goes straight down. You can see that right through the hole, which means it's centered. So now I can take my grid out. Oopsie, here we go, there's a nice little hole there, and that's my grid out. Okay, so my hooping is, I'm all ready and hooped, ready to go. So let's move on to the next section, which is going to be threading. So here we have where you thread your machine, your embroidery machine thread. The bobbin gets wound here. It's not an independent winding one, unfortunately, so you'll wind your bobbin here, and this is where your spool is, and you just follow the arrows. I'm going to do that for you in a moment. I just wanted to show you what we're so. Now let's talk about some threads. Let's talk about threads. You do not get this case. I bought this from Amazon. Brilliant. And it stores flat. When it goes like that, they don't fall over and topple out. Not a lot anyway. And they just hold down by these grips. So I bought the case, which was empty, from Amazon. I think it was like £24. And I bought, I think this is 63 metallic threads. And that was quite a bit. I'm not sure. I think that might have been £63. Embroidery is not for the people who are on a budget. I just don't see how you can do embroidery on a budget. I think if you have that little 4x4 hoop machine, maybe, if you don't use it metallic threads, maybe it can be done if you just use regular threads, but it's quite an expensive little hobby. I would absolutely say that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick before I pick a colour, this is my colour chart, it came with the thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a design that comes with the machine. Okay, I must mention before we do the threading, it does come with a quick reference, and in this little booklet it will tell you exactly how to thread it, all the things you need to do, the wind your bobbing, how to thread it, and what the little, well this is the sewing one. This is all the sewing, and here we go. This is all how to hoop it. So it does tell you quite a lot of things. What we're going to do, this is how many frames. You can actually use these are inbuilt. These are the frames, and I'll show you on the machine. This is your alphabet. I think you get 3 different fonts. And all the designs that come built in. I'm gonna have to say, they're a little bit, I mean, this is lovely. And then you've got the colour charts at the back. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to stitch out a little design. I love this one. So I'm going to do this design. It doesn't take long. What you'll see, let's put some glasses on. Right here, it tells you it's number 65, so you can find it. It'll tell you the colours You don't have to use those colors, it's just for reference. It's going to have a 2 color change. It takes 8 minutes, it tells you in that blue box, 8 minutes to stitch out this design. So that's what we're going to do. And then at the bottom it tells you how big it is as per, but you can enlarge or use smaller. So let's get on with the threading. This is saying blue. I've done it in green before, but let's do it as it says here. So it's asking me for blue color 007, 007. So I'm going to go to my color chart. I'm going to look for blue 007. And that's Parisian blue. So if you've done anything to do with Bob Ross, you know all about Parisian blue, right? So I'm now going to go to here. I'm going to look for 007. So let's look for 007. No? Parisian blue. And the second colour it's asking to stitch is 405. I think I just had that in my hand. That's 406. This is close. 420. There's the other blue. Oh, 405. Now this is clearly a very popular colour because it's quite low. So those are the 2 colours it's going to ask me for. So I'll get those ready. Move that back. So the first colour, number 1, is 007 Parisian blue, or Bob Ross. So let's thread it. So let's thread it. First one is 007, goes on through the spool. I actually don't use the spool holder. There's a little spool holder there. I tend not to use it. Sometimes it just clogs it up. Some people do. So number 1, down, around like a U. Number 2, follow the chain. Number 3, and number 4, go across there. Oopsie. Really odd angle for me. This is not how I would normally. Ooh. Down that chamber. And through the little guide. There's a little number 7 right here. You see that comes up? Then through here. Now this is going to thread the needle automatically. Put your needle down. Did you see that? Lovely. And I tend to take my little snip scissors and I take that like this. I want a tail but not that big. Right, this is very awkward. Okay, so that's, I'm threaded up. So let's choose the design. So these 2 are for the designs. This one is a design, this is a design. These are your alphabet and these are your frames. Okay, so we want number 65. Okay, I'm not sure it's going to be in this one. That looks like odds. I mean evens. This looks much more promising. So let's go up. Oh, down 1. And that's, no, I want 65. Plus, plus, plus. This is when you want it to have been built in there for you and just pre-arranged. I'm looking for number 65. So that tells me I'm in the wrong one. So I think it goes into the crown. Let's try that again. Oh, what was that? No, back again. Let's do this one this time. 65 plus, plus, plus 50. Let's see. Let's go up to 65. Oh, back one. Woo! We got it. So here's the design we're going to be stitching out, number 65. So you press that. And now it's telling you, this is flashing, it's telling you about your hoops. and it's telling you about your first color, which is Parisian blue, which we have already threaded. So you can do, this is your top button, it's the color check, so you know which ones you're going for. Go back. This one is to adjust it, and so I pressed adjust. Now I'm going to press layout, and it gives you these arrows. So if I press these arrows, you will see it move on the screen. So if I want to go up, you'll see it move on the screen. Press the arrow. If I move down, it will move here, and it will move on the screen. Now, this is the function that I use the most. It's one for needle and like a half a square. So this button will tell me exactly where on my hoop it's going to stitch. It's going to do exactly where it's going to stitch out on the hoop. So I'm going to press this button, and now all I have to do is press, and you'll see it moves. The carriage is now going to tell me exactly where it's going to stitch. So what if I want to move that down? So I go back, the back arrow, so I move that down, and I go back to that, spatial awareness, and it's going to show me exactly where that's going to stitch. There's so much to show you on this, so that is exactly where I would like it to stitch. Right there. So I'll go back to the screen, so I'm happy with it there. If you want to mirror it, you use this one. If you want to turn it slightly, you use this arrow. There's a lot to go on with that, but it's too much for me to tell you in this little episode. So what we're going to do is we're just going to stitch it as is. We're going to do a design, and we're going to do some lettering. So this is the design that's inbuilt, I think is one of the prettiest. So let's get started with the stitching. So I'm happy with that. I go back to the screen. It's got 1 stroke 2. It's telling me this is what it's going to be stitching in this color. And if I press the green, now if my foot was up, that would be red, and that it's not going to do anything. I have to put the foot down, then we have the green light, and then we are ready to go. So I tend to, this is very awkward for me to hold, I tend to hold it just for a second while I start it. So let's start it. Just before it gets going, I snip it. In your own sewing room, you would never be at this angle. And then start it again. And now it's just going to stitch out its design. I always watch up here to make sure that this doesn't get tangled on the spool, which is why I don't use a spool cap. That is freely unlooping itself. And it's going to stitch out this design right here. I think this will probably take about 3 minutes, and then the rest is 8 minutes in total. So let's enjoy this. When you go to your fabric stores and they sell machines, you always see the children just lined up like it's a candy store watching an embroidery machine, because it's so wonderful to see it stitch out. It makes me so happy, and I will be showing you some of my designs that I have done and some templates. I always stitch out on a fabric. I never do it straight onto my piece of work. I always want to make sure what it looks like, and then I can hold it against my work and find out if the size is right, the colours are right. So I'll do it on calico first, and then after I've done it on the calico and say that I like the design, I'll then use it on the same fabric that I'm going to put the design on, to make sure that the colours work, to make sure that the placing is fine, and yeah, that's how I do it. So this is so fab. Isn't that beautiful? color change. Number 2. So the first thing I do, it's been a while since I've done this. So lift the foot, snip your threads. It's snipped for you, well done. I do not pull it back through the chamber. I have seen people, and professional people, do that. I just think it's going to bugger up your tensions. So I snip it, because this is so expensive. I tend to just unroll it a bit. Sorry, but it is expensive. And I kind of snip from here, and I take off. And the remaining piece here, I just pull through, and that gets discarded. That goes back. So now it's asking for me for the second color, which has just got blue here. This is 405, and once again, so down number 1, up the U, number 2, through this chamber here, whoopsie daisy, down 3, up to 4, down. I'll lift that up a bit so I can pull from through. Now we go through that chamber here. There is a little lever here and up to 7. So if I can see, if you see it like that, this is going through the automatic needle threader. Up on this. Oops, such an awkward angle for me. Okay, through here, through there, I hear the little click. Oops. Click. Oh, click. And then, oh, needle down, yellow, sorry, green. And there we go. Threaded beautifully. I don't really like such a long tail. So we at number 2, we are good to go. So we say yes. Oh, no. No, we don't want to cancel. And it has completed its design. As you can see, the machine has said finish sewing, and we just press OK. Now what it will do is it will give you the option of stitching it again, just in case you're doing a border or anything like that. It will give you the option to re-stitch the same pattern again when you re-hoop and move it, and then you can just press start if you wanted to do that. So let's take it out of the hoop, shall we? Foot up, and let's have a look at it. It cuts the threads automatically. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. And I've never done it with the blue. And this one, there's not many jump threads to cut because I clipped it quite close when it was starting. So there's not many jump threads, but the more colours you have, I had 5 colours and it was stopping and doing one colour this time and then another colour and then back to the same colour, that would have a jump stitch. And that means that there'd be a lot of threads to snip really close, and that's a little bit of a bugbear, but it's what you have to do when you've got a machine under £3,000. If it's under £3,000, you're definitely going to have to cut your jump threads, but when you go past the £3,000 mark, it will cut the jump threads. It won't even exist. It's amazing. Anyway, I think let's try some monograms or lettering. So I'm going to do that next. So let me rehoop and I'll see you in a little while. Okay, so it stopped stitching. You got the red light up because I've lifted my foot up and the design is still on the screen. We're not going to be restitching it. So you press the button here, the back arrow goes back, and yes, we don't want it, so it's going to come off. Back arrow again, and now I'm back to my menu. I'm actually going to be doing a ABC or a font, so let's take one of those. I just like this font. So I'm going to actually stitch out my name and then I'm going to move it in the hoop, but let's first do so the first thing I want a capital, and I want a capital J, and now I want a lower letter, so I'm going to go to this menu here, and that's A. That's a small a, so that tells me. And so now down here, where's the U, see it's spelling it up the top there. Let's go back, L I E, let's go forward, T. So okay, so we've got that. So let's adjust. Let's go to the adjust. Never mind about that, you can have any color you want. So let's check it. Let's check the layout. So there it is. So I'm going to move my needle up. You see it move on the screen, and your needle is moving at the same time. Let's move that up. Let's keep going. Right, first thing now, let's just check out how much room that's going to take. So back to this, we've got the half square here, press that, and here it's going to stitch it out. Well, it's not going to stitch it out, it's going to tell me where exactly it will stitch out. Well, I want to clear a lot more than that, so I'm going to go back to the menu. I'm going to go up more, and then back here, stitch that out again. Let's see it. Oh, I just want to be really careful. So I'm back again, one more up, and I think we're good to go. Again, back, let's test it. That's cleared that considerably because it's cursive. You never know what's going to be hanging down. I'm going to do that again just to make sure. Yeah, that does clear that top part. Alright, so let's go back, and it's ready to stitch. So let me thread it. Just turn that a bit to me. Okay, let's go. I'm choosing a light blue here. This one is straight, I mean this is brand new, so it could be a little bit too coiled. And back again with this, attempting to thread it from a very funny angle. Ooh. There we are. Up, oh. No. That'll give some tension on it. Through, hear that click. Through here, release that down. Okay. Oops, let's pull that through before we snip it. Ooh, avoiding me. There we are. snip it just slightly. Okay, let me try and hold the thread from this little very weird angle. Let me just check it one more time just to make sure. I want to make sure that it's clearing. What they always say, isn't it? Check 15 times before you go for it. I'm going to go up one more time. Now I know for sure that will stitch out properly. Let's start it. Let's stop that, snip our threads, and let's go. As you can see, it's made its little jump stitch now to go and do the U, and it's coming out really nicely. have it. Isn't that lovely? Oh my goodness. So as you can see, it said we have right here, the machine is telling us, let me just turn it a little closer, finish sewing, and you just press OK, and then it will go back to the screen. I just went to the back screen. This will be the screen that will come back after you said OK normally, and it's got the same letter, so if you was doing lots of your children's PE kits and things like that, you can just keep stitching the next PE kit, or games kit as they say in America. So let's unhoop this. We simply pull that back, pull this lever, there's a little silver lever right here, pull that, and it pops out. Of course, not popping out now, but it pops out. Just lift your foot a bit, and there we have it. Let's move that out of the way. Oh, that's lovely. Right, as you can see here, I don't know if you can see, it's quite faint. I put a pencil line, and just like at school when you learned how to do your joined up writing, and you had to make sure the tops hit this, it's literally all along that line. So I'm really pleased with that. So great positioning there. So you can see the faint line here, and then you've got the letters hitting exactly where I want them to. So let me just show you the jump stitch. There's a lot of people who say unhoop and then cut your jump stitches. Well, it's whichever one that works for you. I kind of like it quite tight, so that's one like that. Let me put that down. I'll just get as close to the work as possible. That's why I've got called embroidery scissors, because they're sharp to the very tip, and this is why it would be worth investing in that extremely expensive embroidery machine, because sometimes it's exceedingly hard to get those tiny little jump stitch. And here's one right here, but just with everything, if you take your time, you won't cut into your beautiful stitching. I think there's one here, but it's hard, so hard to see that one, but if you cut it. So jump stitches are cut, and that is the embroidery that comes with the machine, the Brava Innovis 1250. This is the actual ones that are actually on the machine. So I'd like to show you now, I'd like to show you some of the embroideries that I've actually bought online and I've used on my projects. Okay, so first of all, let me show you some of the designs that come on the machine pre-built. We've stitched this one. I really liked it in the green, and this also comes with this little reef. It's like a top and a bottom, and then I've done my name, but I reduced the size on this one, so you can see these all are part of what you get on the Brava Innovis 1250. So there's that one, and then this is the very first one I did. Welcome to our home, Juliet and Harvey. So that was really cute. And then I put the date in, and that's the little, I think it's cross stitch. This is a cross stitch. This was a font. Yeah, this is a cross stitch. This is a separate design. This is a font, and then I just used the numbers to try those out. And then this is some, this is a cushion template. Oh, here we are, that I did for my sister Joy. So I wanted to place everything out on the cushion, so I kind of made a mock-up with the calico, me and Calico, best of friends. So we had the borders here, her name, and then I did a little butterfly. I remember on the real thing, the butterfly was facing in the wrong direction, so I had to do something else to make it, I put a flower in or something like that to make it look better. So that's all on the machine. Let me show you with one of these, a USB stick that fits here. You can put your USB stick in. Also, you can actually put some of the cards. They got these cards. I don't have them. I think that's quite old-fashioned. But you can get buy designs on the internet, put them on a USB from your computer, and put them, take them from the computer onto USB and transfer them to your machine. So this is some of them that I have transferred. There's this, which is absolutely stunning. Look at this. This is going to go on a dress. I've actually stitched it. I'm not sure how to place it. I'm not sure if I want to put it straight on the fabric, because I'm like, what if something goes wrong? I'll get a bird's nest and things, and you know, and then the things on the stabilizer. Oh, I'm not sure. So, but I'll work it out and let you know. I haven't used this guy, but I really want to use it on something. This is the little owl in flight. That's Lush. This one I used in exactly, so I've done the colors and everything, and the placements and the dimensions and everything, and I'm going to show you what I put that on in a minute. And this is so gorgeous, Black Panther. I want this on the fabric, or so I want this on clothes. I see it, just desperate to put that on something. And of course, my crown. This is gorgeous, and I actually use that, and I'll see if I can find the thing that I use it on there. So let's go with the things that I've actually used. Right, the peacock I put on this bag that I made, and it just pops on this black. I get so many compliments every time I use that. So there it is, stitched on the template to check it out. I loved it so much. It took a half an hour per. This takes half an hour to stitch out. Yes, so this is a labour of love. I loved it so much. I put it on both sides. So that's one. That's a project I use this particular one with, and I don't know where it is. Do you remember this, ladies? There it is. See, I use it. It's not something, it wasn't a gimmick. It's actually in my handbag. This is the bag I'm using at the moment. Now this is one that it's got all my junk in it. Gosh, what in the world? It's dirty on that floor. Right, this is a dream catcher. This is the very first thing I ever stitched out. And when I saw it, I was like, I am totally in love. I made the bags, both bags I made. These are my bags. And this is a dream catcher. I love this, and just love the feel of it. And again, I did it on both sides. So that's that. And here we have my lovely purse, which I keep my sunglasses in, my business card, my sunglasses, and this is my little crown. So that was the template for that, and here it is on an actual purse, which is a sewing clasp. This was a labour of love. This was a sew-in. This is a hand sewing. You can see it's hand stitched in here into the frame. My fingers and thumbs have never known anything like it. There is probably blood spots here somewhere along the line, because the angle that you have to get the needle in, and you've got to go through so many layers, so there's a bit of force. I don't know if you've watched the Evans Almighty. It was that Steve Carell, and he's like building the ark at the time, and he's banging away with his hammers and nails, you know, building it the old-fashioned way, gopher wood, right? Forget that. And he keeps bashing his thumb, and he's like, and every time, and now he's really psyched out. He doesn't want to drop that hammer. This was the same experience I had with this. Because you have to come under this and you go through here, and you come under at such force when you actually prick your finger. It's so painful. Oh my God, there's definitely blood somewhere in here. Definitely. This is blood, sweat and tears. At the end of this project, I was timid. My fingers were shaking. They were bleeding. I had them covered in bandages and plasters. You wouldn't think this sewing is a dangerous sport, but this taught me it's dangerous. And after the experience, I bought 2 professional thimbles. They're like silicone, they stay on. They've got like a metal thing here, so when I dig. That was an experience I do not want to repeat. So if you're doing any sewing class, make sure you've got thimbles on both fingers and thumbs, because you're going to need it. Okay, so this was my little rant there, sorry, but this is what you can produce when you have an embroidery machine. I think a lot of people think of it as a luxury. I think that if you are if you are serious about making your own clothes and sewing your own wardrobe, this is actually part of it. You're now moving into the realm of design, and you've stepped out of being a seamstress and you're now actually in the realm of design, because once you start putting things in place, you know, your embroidery on your fabric, on your bags, on your clothes, then now you're a designer. You completely moved up a notch, if you like. Nothing wrong with being a seamstress, it's fine, but if you can get the best embroidery machine you possibly can, and definitely get a bigger hoop, because you'll be able to do these wonderful designs. If you have the 4x4, that's fine. You won't be able to have a bigger hoop, and you are just really quite limited to quite small designs. Well, yeah, these little tiny little things like that, that's what you'll probably be doing. Start where you can, enjoy your passions. I really enjoyed this tutorial because this is I love embroidery. And thank you so much for tuning into Juliet's Sewing Life, and I will see you next Tuesday.